So Johnny, are the all the steps done? You did not got the table, right? You lost the table.
Yeah, I lost the table. Yeah.
Okay, I just send you message in the meetup, but I am putting in the chat also.
Okay.
You can take it and maybe do it today, whatever the steps are there.
Okay.
Okay,
Thank you.
we'll start now. So yesterday we did login and registration. Let's go and see what we did. So what is the purpose of login? Why we are doing login? We are doing login so that we should recognize the user and we can use that user in all the project, all the pages. If you go to Facebook, what you see, once you log in, you're logged in and you can go to multiple pages and Facebook is able to recognize you that you are the same user. So how does Facebook recognizes you? So whenever you log in, Facebook or any good application, I don't know what is internals of the Facebook are, but I guess this can be, if I have to build a Facebook, it will be like this. So whenever you log in, I put your details in the session, and this session can be accessed on any of the page on my website. So whenever you log in, whenever user logs in, I put his details in session. So to use the session, to create the session or to use the session, we use the word $_session. So I can say $_session, maybe username. I'm just putting some dummy name. Later on, we will change to different name. I can say username is many. And I can also take $_session, your user ID, and it will be, let's say, 1. So when I go to another page, session value will remain same. So another page, I will get the session name this, and I can show it on the page that, oh, many has registered, many has logged into our website. Let's show the details for the many. So what is in login we always save the details of the user. So we can save the email, we can save the username, we can save the user ID, we can save multiple things in the session. And then when we go to next page, and once we have session, I know which user has logged in, and I can provide the details of that user to the, I can provide the details of that user on the page. So now let's see our login page. I created the login page with this form. When form is submitted, it goes here and it creates some sessions. You will see these two sessions are created. So what are the sessions created? One is username and one is user group. In the username, Dreamweaver puts the email of the user. So Dreamweaver creates one session called as $_session username, and he puts the email of the user. Let's say many@mkgalaxy.com. Second session which Dreamweaver creates is user group, and it creates the session user group. In this user group, Dreamweaver puts the access level, and access level is member. That access level which we created in the database. This is the access level. So we have this access level. So it will save, Dreamweaver save the member in the memory, somewhere in the memory, that is called the session, and then we can use this session on all the pages. So I will know, once you log in, I will know that who is logged in on my website, and so I can provide details respective to what you want. Let's say Dreamweaver only puts these two things. Let's say if I want to use user ID or display name or profile image, then I don't have those details in the session. So to get those details, either I have to go to this table and get the details from the table, or I will modify the Dreamweaver code, and when Dreamweaver is creating this session, I will add all the fields in the session which I need. So for example, if I need user ID. So I will create another session in the Dreamweaver. This is I'm putting in Notepad, then I will copy it in the login page. I will say $_session mm. This is the name I am giving user ID. And I want to save this user ID, this part, this user ID. So let's put equal to $user ID. Just I'm putting this $user ID, or just put right now, for now, just put 1 or 2, one number, because this is, I'm having one number in the user ID. Let's try to put display name also in the session, so that I don't need to go to database again for that user. I should know the display name for that user. So I will say $_session. I can say display name equal to something which will come from the database from this field. Let's put the profile image also in the session. So I will say $_session profile image equal to something which we will get from database, this value. We know username is the email, so we don't need to save the username. Provider ID, we don't need provider ID, but tomorrow when we go to making the different projects, we may need it, then we will add it. Right now I don't see any use of provider ID in the session. Next will be the password. We never save the password in the session, because password is a secret thing which user will put at the time of login, so we don't need password to be in the session. Access level is already in the session in the name of the user group. The member is already doing it in the name of user group. User created date, we don't need it. UID, we may need the UID, so let's add the UID also in the session. UID equal to some value which comes from the UID. Logged in time, I need logged in time also, so let's put the login time also here. So I'll say $_session logged in time equal to something which will come from the database. And then profile UID also I need it. Let's put it in the session, that also. I'll say $_session profile UID, and this will be something which is coming here. So we have already these two created by Dreamweaver. We will add this 5 or 6 more in the Dreamweaver. So I will go to my login page. I will see where the session is created. Session is created at number line 33. So I will go after that line 33. I will paste it all this code. Now I want a value from the database. If you see the select statement, this is a MySQL query. In the select statement, we have only email, password, and access level. We don't have all other fields which we need for our purpose. So we will add all the fields which we need for our purpose. So I will put comma. I will say user ID. I will put user ID, comma. I will put display name, comma. I will put profile image, comma. I will put email is already there. Access level is already there. UID, comma. Logged in time, comma. Profile UID here. And now you will see how the Dreamweaver is accessing the access level using this method. So let's copy this method and we will access all the other columns using this same way. So I will copy this part and I will paste multiple times. So I will say first time I will say it's a access level. Then I will say user ID. Then I will say display name. Then I say profile image. Then I'll say UID. Then I will say login time. Though UID will be empty because we will not get UID in our registration we did not put it, but I'm just creating a dummy empty variable here. Okay, that's all for is this one. And now what I will do, I will take each variable. Variable is created in PHP with the dollar sign. So this is called the variable. And if you are not clear what is variable, then ask me after this class. I will explain you in detail what is variable. I assume you know you have the basic knowledge of variable. And if you feel difficulty in understanding variable, then ask me after this class. Then I have to explain you what exactly is the variable. So this is the variable user ID. I will put it here. This is the display name. I will put it here. This is the profile image. I will put it here. This is the UID. I will put it here. And logged in time, I will put it here. And profile UID, I will put it here. Right now, if you go to the database for the first record, I don't have any value for UID, logged in time, and profile UID. It's okay if we don't have value, but we will take the respective columns in the code, which we may use in other purpose. I will tell you later. Just let's put everything in the session. Now let me let me see what is in the session. So to check the value in the session, I will use a printer as a keyword, PHP keyword, and I will put $_session to see what is there in the session. And I will exit out for now because I want to see this values, what are there in the session. So let's run this login page. And I will click login. Once I click login, okay, I have some spelling mistake, but let's see what is that spelling mistake. Profile UID. Okay, this one is having spelling mistake. Let's refresh the page. Okay, so what I am seeing, forget about this one. This I did not create it. This is created by some other script. I have user ID, which is 3. Let's see if I have 3 user ID. So I was logged in with this ABC1. So this user ID is 3. Display name is mango. This is the display name. Profile image is right now google.com. I just put dummy name. UID. Okay. Since UID is not null, but then also UID is coming here. The reason is I logged in at some other place in my browser and I did not clear that session. So UID is coming as some value. Actually, UID will come null, but since MMUID was already created in other one. This is not the UID which I am creating in this login page. In this login page, I am creating capital UID. In other script, I was using small UID. So that's the reason it is displaying here. Forget about this line. This is not created by me in this page. This is created by me in some other script which I was doing as my project. So forget about this line. Logged in time is null here. So I'm not getting anything here. Username is abc1@mkgalaxy.com, which we can see here. abc1@mkgalaxy.com. User group is member. We have member as a user group. And UID is null. So we don't get anything. And profile UID is also null. So I'm not getting anything. So this is all the values of the session. Now what I will do for easy purpose, for my practical purpose, I will take each session name which I created and I will put it in the binding panel. So I will copy username and I will go to the binding panel and I'll click the plus sign and I'll create a session variable. In the session variable, I will put username and I will click OK. Then I'll go to the second user group. I will click the binding panel plus sign and put the value of session variable as user group. Next, I will click the user ID. I will click the plus sign, create a session variable. I will put user ID. Next, I will go display name. I will click plus sign, click the session variable, put display name. Profile image, click plus sign, click session variable, click profile image. MMUID, click plus sign, click session variable, click MMUID. Logged in time, click plus sign, click session variable, click logged in time. Profile UID, click plus sign, click session variable, and click profile UID. Why I am putting it here? Because later on when I will create my projects, it will be easy for to use this name. I can just simply click and drag and drop wherever I want. It will create the session username. So whenever I will work with project, I will need these variables and for easy access. Otherwise, I have to type username. But here I will just drag and drop on the page whenever I want to use this session variables. So this is the reason I created these session variables and I put each session variable in this binding panel. Now, if I go to the logout page, in the logout page, I can see only two session variables created by the Dreamweaver. Since here I have so many session variables created, I have to log out all the variables in the logout page. So what I will do, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I need 4 more statements. So I will copy this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times. And second line also, which is related to the session, I will copy this 6 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I created 6 times because I logged in with so many variables. I have to log out with all the variables. So I will take each variable and log out with that variable. To log out, just we say $session variable name null. And second line we say unset of $session variable name. So just we will copy paste all the variable names from here. Whatever I'm doing, just watch the video and practice same thing so you will remember it. I have done this 1,000 times, so I remember this. So you have to do same thing 1,000 times so that you should be very comfortable in what I am doing. So whatever variable I created in the login, in the logout, I have to create those same variables to make this logout. Otherwise, user will not be logged out properly. If we have to log out properly, whatever session variables we created in the login page, we have to use same variables in the logout page. So this is all about today's class. That is about the session. Now we will go to the authentication with the different ways. That is with the google.com, with facebook.com, twitter.com, GitHub. We will go with each one of the methods. Let's start with the Google. Have you registered with the Firebase? Yesterday I told you to register with the Firebase. Everybody has registered with the Firebase, or have you gone there and authenticate properly as I showed you yesterday? Yes or no?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay. Okay, do that as early as possible whenever you have. Now I will go to the user authentication page. This is the page I will create one file called as, I will name it as firebase.php for now. Okay, it already exists. Sorry. This is the code which I created at let's go to the project 100. This is my another practice session. So let's create in the users folder. I will create one file. Maybe I can say name auth.php. Here we will put all the Firebase related stuff in this file. So this is the HTML4. I'll delete all the HTML4 and I will put the HTML5 code in the beginning. Now we will do the Firebase part, right? So let's create some buttons or links, and each link will call different Firebase authentication. So for example, first link I will put as a Google. So if I want to log in with the Google, I will click this link. Second link, here I'm saying Firebase authentication. This is only the learning file And in reality, we will copy the code from this file and paste it somewhere whenever we create a project. This is only the learning purpose, that we will create the code base, how to log in with Google, how to log in with Facebook, how to log in with everything. This is only our learning page. Later on, we will create another page where we will put the real code. Second is the Facebook, log in with the Facebook, log in with the Twitter, log in with the GitHub. So these four things we will see mainly from the Facebook authentication. So let's start the coding here. When I go to the Firebase console, let's go to the Firebase console. This is the console page. You will see all the projects which you have created. This is the something I created a few days back. This is something I created yesterday, project 100. I will go to my project, and in the authentication one, I will go to the sign in method and I will enable the Google, which I did yesterday. When I did Google authentication, it will automatically create some web client ID, web client secret. So we don't need to do any other thing. I will go back now. Again, I will go back, and here you will see three things. If you are making application for web development, you will click this part. If you are doing for Android, you will do this part. If you are doing for iPhone, you will click this part. But right now we are doing with a web application, so I will click this part. When I click this part, I will get some code. I will copy this code. I will copy this code and I will put it in the head part of our script. So I put the code where it is saying my API key, domain, blah, 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 whatever it is displaying here. So that's done. First step is done. Just put this code, which we get from here, into our page, auth.php. Now, second thing is, now we want to do with the Google authentication. So this is the document for the Google authentication. I will paste it in the chat. You can go through the documentation whenever you want, whenever you have time. And I will explain you in the short, directly in the code, how to authenticate with the Google. But when you have time, you can go into detail and do whatever you want. So what I will do, I will create another script tag. I don't want to disturb about script tag. Here I will create the function. First function will be function Google login. I will create some function that is the Google login. Second function I will create is function Firebase or Facebook login. Next function I will create is function Twitter login. Next function I will create is function GitHub login. Next function I will create is function sign out. So we will be writing code for each of the function. For Google, we will write code some here. For Facebook, we will write code here. Okay, so let's start with the Google. So for the Google, first step, if I go to the document, first statement is something we have to create this provider. I will copy this part and I will put it in my function provider equal to Firebase auth Google auth provider. So this is the first step we have to do. Second step, we can add more scope kind of thing. If you want some kind of context or other scope is there. If you go to the Google website, they have photo scope and different kinds of scope is there, which we can add. But right now I don't want this context and all. So I am only using for the login purpose. So I don't need this statement. This is a extra custom things which we want to add. Right now we don't have any custom thing for the Google. So we will skip this step also. This is the main function which is used to call the Google authentication. So let's use this one and let's use this and see how it works. So I will copy this and I will paste it after provider. I will paste it, and I will do some tab. So now you will see in the first line, it is calling some sign in with pop-up, and it is returning the result. So this result is something which we are interested in. What is coming in the result? So let's console.log the result. Result is result. So whenever user clicks the button of Google login, this part, I will call this my function, this Google login, and it will call the firebase and do the necessary stuff. And once we are logged in, it will give the details of the user in the result. So all the result which will come from the Google will be saved in this result variable. And I am doing console.log. That means I am seeing what is present in this result. And if any error comes, if any error is there, it will come here. So let's put some kind of console.log here also. Error is error. The error is coming here, and whatever error will come, you can see it here. Now, next task is whenever user click this Google, I have to call this function, Google login. So if we use the normal JavaScript, how will you call this using JavaScript? Does anyone know how to call this in JavaScript? I will put the A tag with some empty H reference, and then here I will say on click. On click, what I have to call? On click, I have to call Google login, because I created a function called as Google login, and I will call that Google login here, and I will also return false. Just return false so that it should not go to anywhere, any page or anywhere. So say Google login and return false. That's it. Let's test this condition and see what is coming in the result part and what is coming in the error part if we have some error. So I will go to the tools and I will go to developer tools. Now I will click the Google one. Check what is happening. Okay, so it's opening a new tab. It is sending me to the google.com some link, and it is asking me which user I want to register. I want to log in. So I will click my email, and it is coming back here with some result. And in the result, I can see there is a one column called as user. Inside user, I can see my name, my email, my photo URL, my UID. This is the UID. And I am also getting provider UID in this provider data. I am getting provider UID. This is the provider UID. So this is provided by the Google, so it's called provider UID. This is provided by the Firebase, so it is called Firebase normal UID. So we don't need all other information. We need only few information. Display name, which I want to save. Email I want to save. Photo URL I want to save. I want to save the UID, provider UID, and I want to save UID. I also want to save refresh token, and reason I will tell you after some time. So let's try to take this information which I want. I don't need other information. So I got the result, and if you see inside the result we have the user key. So I will create a variable called as var user is equal to result.user. Since I am going inside the result, there is a user key, so I am writing result.user. So now if I do console.log of user, you will see only whatever present in the user. So whatever is present in this user structure, you will be able to see that. Now whatever I want, I will take that one. So let's take that one. This is something I am getting user. And now we will take only the parameters which I want. I will reject all the parameters which I don't want. Let me create a variable called as user data, which I will say whatever I want. I will create as an object. Object starts with the curly bracket, ends with the curly bracket. And here I will put all the data which I need. I will say user data dot display name. So here I can put anything. I can say DN or I can say display name. Whatever I want, I can put key. Let's say display name is equal to, I have to take the display name from the user's variable. I will say user dot display name. Second thing, I want email. I will say user data dot email is equal to user dot email. This side of data is something what we see here. And this side of the data is something we are saving it in this variable. Because this variable is ultimately my variable, local variable, which is on this side. And I will use this in the inserting into the database. And this side on the right hand side is something, same thing which I am getting from this structure. Let's create another one, user data dot, let's put photo URL. User dot photo URL. Let's put, I have provider data, inside that I have 0 number, inside that I have UID. So I will say user data dot provider UID is equal to, I have to go to user, inside user I have to go to provider data. It's not coming, wait. Provider data, inside provider data I have to go, inside provider data I have to go to the 0th level. So I will say rectangular bracket 0. Inside 0 level I have to go to the UID. So I will say UID. So this is how we travel the JSON format. This is in JSON format. Then I need refresh token. So I will say user data dot refresh token is equal to user dot refresh token. Next I want UID. So I will say user data dot UID is equal to user dot UID. And now I will print a console.log of the user data. So now what will happen, all the rubbish will go away in this variable. And in this variable, I will see only the data which I need. This is the data which I need. I will see only this information. So let's refresh it and check how it's coming. So I will click again. It's going to the google.com. It's registering me in the google.com, and then it will come back again. And it comes back with the user. This user is a crap, all data. I don't need all the data. And this is the user data which I need. I need display name, email, photo URL, provider UID, refresh token, and UID. So this is the information which I need, which is useful for me. I don't need any other information from this user's object. So this information is very important for me, and I will put all this information in the database. So for example, this display name will go to this display name. User ID will be automatically created. Profile image is this one. Photo URL will go into the profile image. Email will go to the email. Provider ID. Provider ID I did not create it. Let's create provider ID. I know this is coming from the Google. So I will say user data dot provider ID is equal to google.com. This is my custom created. Google is not providing. Firebase is not providing. Because I want to save in database with the provider ID. So I created some provider ID with google.com. Because this is registering from the Google. Next is the provider UID, which will go into the database as profile UID. Sorry, this is provider UID actually. Okay. Let's change it to profile UID. Profile UID. So this profile UID will go into database in the profile UID. Refresh token will not go into the database. It will be there locally for me. I will not put it in the database. And UID, I will put in the database with this UID. User created date will be automatically created. Access level will be member for all the users. Password will be null because we are not checking with the password. We are checking directly with the Facebook or Google. So we don't need password. And this is the information we will insert it into the database. Not today, after a few days when we are done with all these 4 types. When we are done with all these 4, I will show you how to insert in the database. So we are done with Google authentication, but you will see that we are logged in with the Google, but we have not created any session variable which we created in the login. So we have to do one step more, which we will not do today. We will do after we are done with all these four types. Then we will create the session for the user based on the data we get from the Google. So any questions on the Google authentication? So Google authentication is done. If it's error, we will do console.log. In reality, we will show the error to the user, but I don't want to show it now. I will write that script later on. But something, if error comes, we can see at least in the console.log. And here also we are able to see in the console.log, though it is not 100% complete, we have to log in using this script, which we will do after a few days. So now, do you have any questions in the Google authentication, or you will be able to do it comfortably? I know it you will not remember every step. You have to watch the video again, but everything is easy, or you feel that something is difficult, you need to ask any questions.
If we're using Google login, we don't need to create sessions because the data is already there.
You are saying we don't need to create registration, right?
Session variable.
Session
we
variable.
Don't need to,
we don't
session.
need to, yeah, okay. So since data is already there, but this data is only coming when I am clicking this Google. And since this data is needed in the PHP, because our whole website is in PHP, so this data is only locally on the client side right now. So I want to put it in the database, and I want to create the session values, because if I don't have session, I won't be able to use it in other pages. My whole website is dependent on session. So this local data has less meaning. You know, if I'm building my application only in the React.js or only in the AngularJS without any PHP part, then it makes sense. I can use this data locally. I don't need session. But our whole application will be in the PHP. So we need session for going to all the pages. So this data is locally present. We needed something on the server. And to have something in the server, we need these sessions. So after we are done with this, we have to write some more code here to make it available in the session. So we need the session. Without session, we won't be able to work on our whole project. Because all the pages, all the website pages will be dependent on the session. Only this login page is not dependent on the session. But after login, how will I know that who is logged in? Only user logged in this page. But for tracking the user in all the pages, we need the session.
Yes.
Okay. Any other question? Okay. So tomorrow we will do the Facebook. And if we get time, we'll do Twitter. If we get time, we'll finish the GitHub. After we are done with the 4 steps, I will write one API. We will write one API. And that API will be used to create the session. So this session has to be created. and we have to insert all this record, all this data inside the database, inside this table. So to insert the record into the table, we need one API, and that API we will write after a couple of days or after tomorrow, maybe day after tomorrow. That API will insert the record into the database, and this API will create the session variables which are used for all other pages. These session variable will be similar to what we have in the login page. So tomorrow we will finish all this part, and day after tomorrow we will start writing the API. So API may take 1 or 2 days to complete, or it may take 3 days also, because we have to write registration part again. Here we are writing the registration part again in the API, and we will write the login part also again in the API. So it will create session variable, and it will also insert into the database. So that's the plan for tomorrow and day after tomorrow and on the Monday. Is that clear?
Yes.
So whatever I explained you today, have you understood it, or you find difficult in understanding that?
Understand.
Okay. So if you have any questions, just email me and we will